Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I just want to do a short video. We've had a lot of questions about how long does it take to build a car like Cletus's new 69 Camaro, or how much does it cost to build one of these cars. Some people ask kind of how we started. We obviously skipped a few steps from our first video after he posted. A lot of the car was already done. So I just want to take you guys out there, go over kind of the cost, how long some of the different aspects of the car takes, and we'll go from there. Also, all right, so we're out here looking at Cletus's car again. We don't have a lot of updates we want to give you today. We just did another video yesterday. We'll have another update at the end of the week after he comes and we fit the pedals, and we'll show you some more body mounts and some other stuff we've done. But today we just want to talk about how long does it take to build a car like this? How many hours does it take to build a car like this? There's a lot of variables when you talk about that, and we'll kind of go over some of them. But a car like this, small tire, steel roof and quarters car, takes about 1,600 hours to build. That's start to finish. What that doesn't include is wiring or paint. So the wiring guy will have probably a solid 100 hours in wiring it, and then paint, obviously, depending on how nice you want to paint, is a lot of hours also. Doing a carbon body car is probably closer to 1,200 hours. For the classes Cletus wants to run, a steel roof and quarters was the way to go, and they do look really factory, which is nice. It'll look like a factory car with a small tire, and it'll have bumpers, going to have headlights, going to have tail lights, going to have a grill. It's going to look pretty cool. So that's just a little bit on the time that it takes to build it. Now the time start to finish, month wise, is tough because some cars you can't get panels for. For example, these cars, the front ends and doors, if you get the stuff we use, which is Vano stuff, which is really nice stuff, is really far out, like 5-6 months sometimes, depending on when you order it. So depending on how well you plan to build, it could take a long time. We've built cars that you can't get carbon for, so you have to buy the steel front end and steel doors. You have to have someone do the body work on them, modify everything, make molds, modify the fiberglass, remake molds. It can be a lot of work. If you guys watch Cletus's other videos, you can see kind of the process on what they're doing with Leroy's body, and it's a lot of work to get to make a nice mold. So building a car like this, that there's good doors, good front end, and all the parts available, definitely helps in time frame. This car won't take terribly long because we have everything included in that 1,600 hours that we talked about it taking to build this. Is everything. That's basically the first tube on the chassis to the car leaving here. We're going to plumb it. We're going to build the headers, the down pipes, the charge pipes. We're going to send everything to powder coat, anodize. We'll pick all the colors for anodizing and powder coating when we get a little bit closer. But that pretty much entails everything other than wiring and paint. So 1,600 hours labor, I think, is a lot more labor than most people think it takes to build a car like this. I'm not saying there's not some people that can build cars faster, but as you can see, some of the guys here that we have working here are very particular about how things come out, and it just takes time to do it like that. We also wanted to talk a little bit about where you start on this car. Our first video, we were kind of already far along in the chassis process because we wanted to let Cletus post his video first. So going back to that, you kind of start with, on all these cars, the biggest thing is figuring out what they're going to run with. There's going to be a big tire, it's going to be a small tire, what engine combination. Engine placement is huge. So with the turbo motor, the motor's a little bit farther back than a nitrous car. Like this car here, it's quite a bit. It's like 4.5 or 5 inches farther back than a nitrous car. That's one of the biggest things. Engine placement. We like our 4-link bars a certain length. So once you find the center line, the rear wheel well opening, you have to get your 4-link bar where you want it. That pretty much determines where the rear cross member is going to be. So that kind of leaves you with a space for the cockpit, and then you start designing the back of the chassis. There's a lot of supports that go into where the shocks mount and where the anti-roll bar mounts. That's got to be the stoutest part of the rear of the chassis. Also, the 4-link section, which you can see just by looking at it, this area pushes a lot and this area pulls a lot. So this needs a lot of bracing in this area. For a small tire radial, it won't be bad, but we see a lot of big tire stuff, and we've fixed a lot of big tire cars that when it shakes, it'll crack these tubes, it'll crack the lower frame rails, it'll break the X. It's very violent. So over time, we've learned what tubes we need to make a little thicker wall, where to place tubes to kind of try to make up for tire shake hurting stuff. So, but with a small tire, this car will last a really long time. and it won't really be super hard on anything. The back of the chassis is pretty stiff. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've changed a few things on that also to kind of spread that out and make it a lot stiffer. Another thing is if you're going to build a small tire only car, you can move the forelink a little wider. If you're ever going to consider putting big tires on it, it needs to be narrower. A lot of the guys run a 20-inch wide wheel, 18-inch wide wheel, so you end up running out of room between your forelink and the quarter panels. This car is 1 inch wider than what we've done in the past, which would still fit a big tire if you ever really wanted to. But if he decides to do a big tire, we would have to modify the sail panels and a wheel well opening, which I think we said on the first video wouldn't look great with a small tire. So we're not going to do that for now. If he decides to do it in the future, it's an option. Also, a lot of people in the comments asked, how much does it cost to build a car like this? And the price can range quite a bit. So I'll give you an idea on what it costs to build something like this to this level. So this car is going to have everything we offer: titanium everything, carbon everything, the best of the best. Car like this, rolling. Now you got to buy a motor, tranny, converter, pay for wiring, pay for paint. But a car like this, you're looking at $225,000 for a rolling chassis. So it gets expensive, especially when you get a motor that's 115 or 20,000, a tranny that's 30 or 35,000. It gets really expensive, but that's what it costs to build something like this. You can easily spend $450 on a complete turnkey car, and then you still need spare parts. So it's definitely not a cheap hobby, but if you want to go fast and you want to be competitive, that's pretty much what it takes to do it now. You can build a carbon body car, even though the body is a little more money, a little cheaper, just because of the time. And also, parts in the last few years have gone up. All parts have gone up. Labor's gone up. Everything's gone up in the last 2 years. So this was a car, if you ever watched our videos before, that we probably could have done for $175 2 years ago. We have a video about that if you guys want to watch that. Me and Troy did together. And now we're closer to $225. And then we have cars like the Willys. I don't know if you guys have watched many of our videos, but the Willys that we're doing is an all steel body. So if you want to build something like this, it's even a lot more than that, because you have to start with a body that's pretty much impossible to find. You don't just find these Willys steel bodies in this shape, and if you do, they're extremely expensive. They're about half the cost of that car just to start with, and then we cut everything out. We cut the whole car apart just to use the shell. And on top of that, they're super unique. So nothing works like our normal deal. They're way taller. The seat's got to be mounted up. The pedals are real narrow. Everything's different. So the cost of a car can vary a lot. Like we said over there, you're at $225. Something like this he may have 500,000 in instead of 400 or 450. But you don't see cars like this very often because of that reason. Most people are not willing to spend $85,000 or $100,000 on a body to cut it up. So really awesome to have the privilege to build this car for this customer, and it's gonna be awesome to see what it turns out like. But I think that's it for this video. Make sure you check out the update we drop on Friday of Cletus's car, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.